Don't draft Derrick Henry in 2021. I know this is going to be tough to hear for a lot of you. It's a cautionary tale I'm going to be telling probably until kickoff of 2021. I hate to do it because I love Henry. I hate to do it because I know a lot of you love Henry. I hate to do it because he's one of the best fantasy football running backs in the game right now, walking out of 2020. He did nothing wrong, but I'm going to break it down for you, give you all the logic, and I'm not here to convince you to not draft somebody if you love the player. Trust your gut. Use me as a guide when you're on the fence and you're not sure what direction to go. Don't let anybody, including me, including any analyst, talk you out of trusting your gut if you have a good feeling about a certain player. But tonight I'm going to go over why Derrick Henry is one of the biggest bust potential players heading into 2021 and especially 2021 and beyond. All of that and more, the Fantasy Football Show begins now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty. Take a lap. What if I told you that of the 8 running backs in NFL history that have rushed for over 2,000 yards, none of them have delivered even close to the same performance the next year? The drop-off is real. Prior to 2020, here are the 7 players in the NFL, in NFL history, that have run for over 2,000 yards. Derrick Henry is going to be added to this 8 spot because he did it in 2020. Let's look at the alarming stats. What happens to running backs after they run for 2,000 yards? O.J. Simpson ran for 2,003 yards in 73. In 1974, he ran for 1125. O.J. Simpson dropping from 12 TDs to 3 TDs, from 2,003 yards to 1125, from 6 yards a carry to 4.2. Erick Dickerson in 84 ran for 2105. The next year, in 85, the guy ran for 1,234. But even the great Erick Dickerson went from 5.6 yards per carry during his 2,000-yard campaign to 4.2 a pop. He did have a couple good seasons, to be fair. He had 1,800 the next year after that drop. In 1997, the great Barry Sanders ran for an epic 2,053 yards. His next season, his final season, he ran for 1,491, and that was in 98. Barry Sanders dropped from 6.1 a carry down to 4.3. He also scored 11 TDs in that 2,000-yard season in 1997 and only scored 4 in 1998. Terrell Davis ran for 20,008 in 1998, and in 1999 ran for 211 yards. Terrell Davis was never the same after his 2,008-yard season, 21 TDs on the ground, 211 and 2 TDs the next year, 282 and 2 TDs the next year. His final year in 2001 was 701 and 0 TDs. Jamal Lewis in 2003 ran the ball for 266 yards. In 04, Jamal ran for just 1,006. Jamal Lewis dropped an entire yard per carry. His TDs got cut right in half from 14 down to 7. Chris Johnson in 09 ran for 2,006. Then in 2010, CJ2K backed that up with 1,364. CJ2K went from 5.6 a carry to 4.3 a carry. He tanked more than a yard per carry. Adrian Peterson in 2012 ran for 2,097 yards. The next year, in 2013, AP ran for 1,266. AP was never the same running back ever again. He went from 6 yards per carry during that 2,000-yard campaign down to 4.5. The next year, 3.6, 4.5, 1.9, and 3.4. He was never the same running back again. And now, the only other running back to ever run for over 2,000 yards in a single season is Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry dropped 20.27 in 2020. What's he going to do based on all this historical data, this workload and the historical data backing up a significant decline, not a little bit of a decline, a like cut in half type of decline for every one of these players right here. Look at 2003 to 1125, nearly cut in half. 2105 to 1234, nearly cut in half. 2053 to 1491. 2008 to 211. 2006 to 1006, cut in half. 2006 to 1364. 2097 to 1266. If I was ever to place a bet on a running back declining to an extreme degree, it's Derrick Henry. The likelihood of Henry being able to complete his season in 2021, or if he does, to have even the same efficiency whatsoever, is slim to none according to this data. These are some of the best running backs that have ever played the game. Rushing for 2K yards does something to the human body. It may not be exactly 2,000 yards, but the bottom line is we looked at the 7 players, the only 7 players that were able to do that in their career in the NFL. Every single one of them broke down the next year. And even though a guy like Dickerson, we only have a couple examples here of guys that still did well, at least, even though they took a huge hit in efficiency and production, you can't compare Dickerson's NFL to today's NFL, or the type of running back he is to the type of running back Derrick Henry is. I venture to say that a 247-pound, 6'3" running back in Derrick Henry, the way he's built, the way he runs, how physical he runs the football, how he does virtually everything between the tackles, taking lower body shots that a lot of other running backs don't endure all the time, every single time they're running the football, because people don't want to tackle him from the waist up. That one factor puts him in a new category of risk that a lot of people probably aren't talking about. And 247 pounds hitting the ground over and over and over will wear him down quicker than the average running back. That means he might be on borrowed time regardless of this 2,000 yard stat that we're measuring right here. Even if he didn't, he would have been at that tipping point anyway. But you factor in his overworked 2020 campaign. You take a look at a guy like Todd Gurley, who's younger than Derrick Henry, and you say to yourself, a running back doesn't last until 30 years old when they're used the way that a top 5 overall pick is used from the usage department. You don't crack the top 1 to 5 in fantasy football as a running back and not get overworked. In today's fantasy football world, if you're in the top 5 and you hover there for multiple years, you will have a shorter career than some of the guys of the past. There are no more LaDainian Tomlinsons in the NFL. There aren't. There probably never will be. There's a lot of factors at play for why that's the case, but the bottom line is, all of this together should have you worried if you're taking Henry in the top 5. And we've been mock drafting since the middle of the season up until now, and the playoffs are still going on for the 2020 season. And I've been drafting Henry in the top 5. I did warn all of you last month in December that I had some information coming out. I've been researching Derrick Henry. And when I started to research him, I was looking at the 300 carry total. I was looking at the 372 carry curse, the 272 carry curse. There's all kinds of data and analysis out there that talks about when a running back hits a certain number of carries. It used to be 272, now it's 372, now it's 385. They're doomed. It's a decline, a sharp decline in their career, and they never rebound. But there have been running backs that have gone over that mark. This data is different. You could argue that data against Derrick Henry walking into 2021 without even looking at this 2,000 yard analysis that we just did. You mix it all together, it's a cautionary tale I'm going to be telling probably until kickoff of 2021. I hate to do it because I love Henry. I hate to do it because I know a lot of you love Henry. I hate to do it because he's one of the best fantasy football running backs in the game right now walking out of 2020. He did nothing wrong. He deserves to be in the top 5 based on how good we feel when he was in our lineup. The guy crushed it, man. He's dragging no baggage into 2021, which is why it makes this so difficult. And to make matters worse, if we want to talk about him having a buildup of mileage on his tires, he's number 5 all time in having the most carries in a single college season. He had 395. So mix that with the 303 carry season he had in 2019, the 378 that he just had in 2020, mixed with the 18 carries in the playoffs, with all this data, with being 247 pounds, hitting the ground over and over, having his lower body targeted more than any other running back in the game, not having a lot of PPR work to begin with. There are safer players to draft in 2021 where Henry is getting drafted. Again, use the info to push you over the fence if you're feeling kind of similar, or you didn't even really know what you were looking for, but you felt like the workload was adding up. You wanted something tangible to grab onto, not just, oh, he's had a lot of work, he might get hurt. This is real data. This is hard to argue against. You can only argue against this with your heart and say, oh, I feel he's going to do well. I'm not going to go off. I get that. I'm not mad at you. Do you? Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to push you over that fence. If you're on the fence, not sure what direction to go, you're looking for a little information to help you jump to one side or the other. I'll be on the side of the fence that's avoiding Henry, and I don't even want to be there. I'm not hating on him. I love the dude. I've got him in a dynasty league now, and after this video post, I probably won't be able to get rid of him in a trade, but so be it. I'm even honored to have him on that team, but my job is to inform you, and consider yourself informed. Derrick Henry is the biggest risk in 2021, given the cost of his top 5 overall value, and given your expectation of Henry because you're drafting him that high. Subscribe, follow, tell your grandma, tell your friends, tell everybody. Get on over to Smitty1.com, where you can find everything that I'm doing all in one place. All my links, all my social, my YouTube show link, sleeperu.com, where you get your fantasy news, right? From me. Get your news from me. And your heysmitty.com, where you can order a phone call. We can talk about football, whatever you want. Netflix, I'll talk about whatever. Dial me up.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty.